Welcome everybody to another edition of Behind the Scenes Live. That is BTS Live for short, episode Lucky 13. And as always, I have my partner in crime, Mark Rogers, with us. Hey Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. I think we've talked weather off the top of the show the last few weeks because we've been astounded at the mild winter. No, we're getting a little bit today. It's not going to be too terribly bad, I don't think. It's going to be about 1 to 3 inches. So I can deal with that and hopefully make it to March. And hopefully March is kind.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Mark, because this winter, I mean, we have the El Nino, so it's affecting us here in the Northeast. We're having a exceptionally mild winter and not a lot of snow, but also normally you live up in the northwest corner, and that part of Connecticut usually gets clobbered with these nor'easters, and it's just the opposite this year, where eastern Connecticut and Rhode Island, Cape Cod are all getting it. And the same thing today. Most of it is going to be east. In fact, I'm in central Connecticut, just south of you. So we'll probably have about maybe 3-4 inches tops. Right now it's very fine. It's not much out there, so I can't complain. You know, I'll take winter like this all the time. So
yeah, if this is the standard winter in Connecticut, I'll sign up for it right now. There's still an exit strategy out there, but but for now, I will sign up for it.
Absolutely, very good. I just want to also give a plug to Blab, which we are on right now. We are syndicating to Blab along with I think 5 other CDNs, including YouTube Live. So I'm wearing my Blab shirt. I'll stand up, and the folks at Blab have been kind enough to send the swag. I got my little sticker up here. I'll leave that up there for the show. But the reason I say that is Blab has been tremendous. It's the reason why we started the show. It's the reason why all you guys are in here right now, and we got off to a great start. So I'm still getting echo. Okay. So it's the reason why we've done this. We're started the show, and the community here is great. So they've been great. We are building a public. They are building a public. This is all brand new technology. So it's been great. So Mark, I'm gonna just remind everybody real quick here. I'm gonna go to the page. We got a Facebook group, Behind the Scenes Live on Facebook. If you search Behind the Scenes Live, you should be able to find it. We welcome everybody to join if you haven't already joined. And there you can find out about future shows. We are starting to put up some content up there. People have been great. This is a group, a community. This is not just Mark and myself and Barb. Barb has been instrumental in setting. She set this up, actually, Barb Tomlin. And she's been instrumental in kind of pushing us in a good way to get this stuff up there and to start this. So, we're 3 administrators, but this is a group for everybody. So if you're part of the group, you feel free to post about your show, post about what you're doing, video related. So we want to make this a true community. It's not something that we have to own. I mean, it's the community that owns it, really. Also want to point out that the show is available on our landing page. Right now, it's btslive.com. Right now, it's just a landing page. My goal with this is to make it a full site, so we can put show notes and episodes and that type of thing. And it's funny I'm saying that because I talked to Mark and push him to get his site ready to go. But this is a landing page. This is where you can see the show live in HD right now. It's streaming there. There is some delay, so if you do watch it on btslive.com, you're probably going to want to mute the Blab tab as far as the audio goes. Also want to plug Mark's new venture, Mark and Macy. His YouTube channel. If you go on youtube.com, search Mark and Macy, you should be able to find it. They are doing a sports-related show. Night Rider saying it's a great show. Mark, I think you do that on Thursday nights, 6:30, 6:45?
Yeah, we jump on Blab about 6:30 and usually get going about 6:45, so you can listen in and watch in, similar to our show for about 10 or 15 minutes while we get ourselves set, and then usually hit the record button about 6:45 and talk it up for 30 to 45 minutes. A pretty hardcore sports show that kind of eases off into some other subjects at times. So we're having a lot of fun.
Excellent. And I do want to give one plug to a good friend of mine, Stephen Haywood. he's down with the flu, but he's getting better. But Steven, inspires me to do all this. This is his site, thetechbuzz.net, and he does, I believe, 2 weekly shows. Now, he normally does a show tonight, but he did call it off because he's under the weather. But he does a show on Monday nights, the weekly tech roundup. Hopefully I'm doing this right. Weekly roundup, and I'm sure he'll correct me in the comments if I'm getting this wrong. And then Tuesday nights he does Broadcast Now, and I was fortunate to be on a couple shows recently with him. Great shows, great stuff. If you're into broadcasting, like I think we all are, I highly recommend Steven's network, thetechbuzz.com, techbuzz.net. To me, he's really the gold standard in all this, and he's what inspires me to do this. And he's been doing it for a long time, so you can learn a ton from him. So check that out, thetechbuzz.net. So Mark, I think I'm going to go first and kind of demonstrate this. I'm kind of going to do this on the fly here. This is not rehearsed, so I'm just going to kind of explain how I set all this stuff up. So in order to do this show, again, when we first started the show, we did it as a Blab only show. And so we just used the Blab platform. Most people that when they're doing shows, they're just using the Blab platform like we are here, the 4 squares. And it's great. And what's great about Blab, it's great to use it to get started because it doesn't I'm reading the comments. I can't get distracted by the comments this early. But for those of you watching the replay, if you can be here for the live shows, you're missing out on the comments. They're the best part of the show. The community here is great. But Blab is great because if you're just starting out with video, it's not intimidating, makes it very easy to start, very focused on content. And for me, and we talked about this in previous shows, a lot of it is just starting. Getting over the hump and actually starting. A lot of people hate the sound of their voice or hate the look in themselves, but just start. And Blab makes that very, very easy to get started and at least to test something. Now, we're doing it on a higher level, HD, and this is something that's really not possible with the Blab platform. They're taking a little different approach. But the reason why we syndicated the Blab, because the community here is so fantastic. So I had to figure out a way to incorporate Blab and also do the HD version and post it on YouTube and all the other CDNs. So I played with various ways to do this, and in past weeks, and Mark will vouch for this, we used Google Hangouts to bring Mark in, and it was a horror show, right, Mark? I mean, it was not, for some reason, we had all kinds of connection issues and echo and all that stuff. So one thing that really worked well was Blab. So I said, I got to figure out a way how to incorporate this. So we did. So let me go to my, I'm going to show you my switcher here. Let me just go to my close-up camera. All right, here we go. So this is the screen, just so you guys know. Let me just try to, this is the screen I'm looking at right now. This is the interface for the TriCaster. Okay, this is the full screen. So I'm going to just move the camera here. So in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see 2 video windows. Hopefully I'm not moving the camera too much. The left-hand side window is the preview monitor, and that's showing what I just showed you guys, Steven's site. I have a computer that I'm using the browser for, so that's showing what shot is set up next. The shot on the right is the program monitor. That's what you guys are seeing, and it's kind of that inception, that tunnel effect right now because it's video feedback. So the right hand side is what you guys are seeing on Blab, and also what you guys are seeing out on the HD streams as well. All right, over here are all my available shots. So you see the little picture of me up in the corner there. That's my camera shot, and you can see I have a black background. That's because I'm using the green screen, the Chroma Key. And that's what it looks like. It's keying out the green, and then anything that's black there is being replaced by my background. Camera 2 is Blab, so I'm bringing Mark in. That's the entire Blab screen, and I'm actually bringing Blab in on a separate computer on an iMac. So that's what I'm bringing in to my TriCaster. The Blab version that's going out is on a different computer. So I got 2 instances of Blab running to do this. All right. So that's that window there. Camera 4 I'm sorry. Camera 2 is the close-up camera. The camera I'm holding right now is camera 2. Camera 4 is Blab coming in. I actually, Leland, I'm actually running I'm actually running 4 computers. TriCaster's a computer. I could probably do it with 3. I could probably do it with 2 Macs. So I'm using 2 instances of Blab to bring Mark in. And the reason I do that is on this computer over here, this is the computer I'm bringing Mark in. I had to mute my tab, the one on the upper, otherwise I'd have all kinds of echo. I need this. Steve says I need another 10. Yeah, I probably do actually. So that's that. These buttons here, this row here, the top row is the ME row, mix effects. Okay, and this is what I'm able to do. Now you'll notice here, I'm not sure if you're able to pick this up on Blab. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit. Maybe do it that way. So you'll notice here, these last 4 buttons are labeled. Let's see if it's going to focus here, guys. Not sure. All right. So you'll notice here, guys, the last 4 buttons, Marty, Mark, 2box, and Blab. These are all pre-composited shots. Okay, these are called mix effects banks, and the TriCaster that I have has 4 of them. So I'm able to composite my shots in advance. So the Marty shot basically is my Chroma Key and my lower third. The Mark shot is Mark, and I zoom in on the Blab so I can get just Mark. And I'll switch to his shot really quick to show you guys. So that's Mark's shot right there, see? So that's pre-composited. So I'm able to zoom in on his square of the Blab, put that up. I'm able to use the background to fill in the rest of the frame, and then I put his lower third. That's all pre-composited. So when I switch to my shot, it's all pre-composited. Mark's shot's pre-composited. And then I'll go back to the close-up, and you'll see that there. The 2box is the same thing. This 2box shot, this is that shot right here. And basically what I do is I use I can put together 3 different things. So I put my shot in square 1. I put Mark in square 2. He's actually keyed over. And then the bottom layer is actually the words you see on the screen in the 2 squares. That's all pre-done. I did that in Pixelmator. And then our video is keyed in over. So I'm the second layer and Mark is the third layer. And let me go back to my close-up. So that's that. Down below here, let me just zoom out. This is the audio mixer. Now, TriCaster has a mixer built in, and you'll see the little bars moving up and down, and they correspond to the inputs that I have, right? So audio 1 is my microphone only, and I actually got my microphone going through a mixer and actually going through a compressor limiter. Audio 2 has, I just have that shut off because that's a close-up camera, so I don't want any audio from audio 2. Audio 3 I'm not using at all. Audio 4 is Mark's Blab camera, so I have that. So if Mark was to talk, Mark, why don't you say a couple words?
Hey, that is all very confusing.
I kind of figured this might be, but I'm going to try to do this here. So you saw that audio 4 when Mark talked, the VU meters ran up and down. The other inputs are all corresponding to different inputs. So net 1, net 2, that's how I'm getting the computers in. I won't go into details there. DDR 1 and 2, I'm not sure if you can see it. Those, if I want to play videos, I have 2 video players on here. So if I want to download a video and play it directly, that's how I normally would do it. So if I'm going to play a YouTube video, for instance, there's ways to download the video. There's several programs. There's online sites you can actually download the video. And instead of using that connection, I actually download the video and play it. So I have 2 players here. There's another thing called sound. That's when I run those fancy transitions that I try to compete with Steven on. And I'm not sure if you're seeing it. It's probably too small for Blab here. There's sound and effects. The sound bank is actually a sound player, an audio player that I can, as a separate audio player. The effects is for transitions that have sound effects. That's a separate input. The record is, I'm actually recording this onto the TriCaster. So after the show, I'm able to, depending on how good I'm not reliant on how good the live transmission is to YouTube, because that can be sketchy. But I'm doing a clean record here. So after the fact, what I'll do is for the playback, I'll actually edit a front end and back end, and then just post it to YouTube and leave that as the replay. And then you have various things. You have the stream, and this machine here can actually stream directly to a CDN, a YouTube Live, for instance. I can stream right from here. aux 1, aux 2, master. These are just the outputs. Editing. I'm going to get to that stage where I don't have to edit. Let me show you the connections here. So I'm going to move my mic. So this is the TriCaster. This is an HDMI version TriCaster Mini. It's the least expensive TriCaster that you can get. And basically what you're seeing there is you're seeing 4 inputs. 1, 2, these 4, the top 4 here. And I'm using 3 of them. And then the next layer down, you see 2 HDMI cables coming out. Those are outputs. So I have 2 outputs. I have one output going to Blab, and I have another output going to my encoder, which is my video. This is a little encoder box that I use. Okay. And even though I have it on board on the TriCaster, I like the video because it, again, takes another process out. And since I had it from before when I had my Blackmagic, I might as well use it. And this is, you can see it says live there. This is streaming to 5 different CDNs through another service. And I don't want to get too complicated. This is probably multiple shows here. But this is an encoder. And this is what's enabling me to stream the HD feed out live to you guys, so you can see it on btslive.com. I'll just give you a tour. I'll show you my mixer. I'm using a Behringer mixer. And the only input I'm really using right now is just input 1, which is the microphone that I'm talking on right now, and also using a compressor limiter. And you see those lights there. The first panel of lights where it says the red and green, that's the gate, the noise gate. So when I stop talking, and as long as it's red, it's shut off. So I can whisper and it won't show up, and that's very, very handy because I don't have to be totally quiet. It doesn't pick up breath noises and things. The other lights you're seeing are the compressor, is the amount of compression, and basically what I use is I use a 4-to-1, kind of a rule of thumb. I am no way an audio expert in any form or fashion. Let me switch to my main shot here. I am not a audio expert at all. I think we have an audio expert in here now. He hates when I say it, but Mike Phillips, I consider an audio expert. He knows way more. That's his area. I'm much more comfortable with the video, but I know just enough to be dangerous, and I don't always get it right, certainly, and all that stuff. So that's kind of a tour. I hope you guys found that a little useful. I know it's a lot to take in, and maybe what we need to do is kind of do a kind of break it down a little bit. For this is kind of like an advanced course. Mark, what did you think? Did you follow all that?
I did pretty well. I was in there for about 15 seconds. I was right there with you.
And the reason why I do all that, because I know people have been, I think they're interested. They want to know, what's your setup like and all that stuff. It looks complicated. And the reason why I show it is that one thing I want to caution everybody on is that if you're just starting out with video, you're not gonna get to that level right away. It takes a while to learn, to build up the equipment. You know, I think Steven will vouch for that. But I bring this up and I show you guys is because what I can recommend to you guys is, if you do want to get into this heavily and at an advanced level, I highly recommend you do this step by step and you learn why things work instead of just a checklist. And the reason why that's so important is there are always things that can go wrong, setups that you need to do different setups. Like for example, we started the show using Google Hangouts to bring Mark into the show. But we've had some issues with that connection, whatever it happens to be, connection issues, browser, whatever it is. And since I have an idea of how all this stuff works, I'm able to take another tool like Blab and say, well, how can I utilize, maybe I can utilize Blab to bring Mark in or bring a guest in. But since I know how it all works and why it works, then I'm able to make the right connections, and try the, and do the right workflow, set up the right workflow, and know it's going to work and why it works. That's so important. I'll give you an analogy. It may be a little bit easier to understand. In my previous life, when I was in college, I was a wedding photographer, and I trained with, and I'm always been into photography. It's a hobby. I love it. And when I learned how to do I trained with a very respected photographer here in Connecticut, in Southern Connecticut. And the thing that was what he really impressed upon me was learning the foundation, learning the whys, learning how light reacts with film. This is back in the film days. Learning how light reacts with film, the silver on the film, learning, how aperture and shutter speed relate. How are those numbers related? How do you figure it out? How to read a light meter? Why the exposure is what it is? How to guess exposures? I got to the point where I had a manual camera, and back in those days, we shot 2.25 inch film. Those square negatives that you sometimes saw back in the day. Some of you guys aren't old enough to remember that. It's all digital now. But it was all manual camera, so I learned how to use a light meter. So I got to the point where we're doing weddings or events, and I didn't have time to whip out my light meter, so I could look at a scene and know, okay, f2.8 at 60, and also the film had enough latitude at least to stop either way, aperture stop either way, that I was fine. But you get to the point where you understand how light reacts with film, and you know the whys. So same thing with video. It's so important. Yeah. You can certainly get hooked up and get ready to go. If you have a new microphone, new camera, you just want to know how to hook it up, that's all well and good, and that's fine. But once you do that, take the time. If you really want to do this seriously, take the time to learn why it works the way it does. And trust me, I know it's some effort and it'll take some time to do, but it'll serve you so well if you know how to do it, because then you're able to grow with different equipment and different procedures and try different things, and because you know how it works. Anyways, that's kind of my spiel, Mark. I hope that was helpful to everybody, and that's really why I showed it to you, is that I want to leave you guys today is know your why, know why things work, especially on the technical end. And Mark, I'm sure you'd echo that on the in front of the camera part of it, why you do certain things and why it's important, and kind of the procedure, not just the checklist.
Now, Marty, when we want to take this to the next level, and you were talking about being a little bit technically advanced and trying to explain all that, we'll bring everyone inside my operation, and we'll show them my operation and how I deal with things. Because if you're blown away by what Marty's got set up, you can imagine. I don't even have my mic set up at this point. I'm having all sorts of issues. So Marty's bringing me along. So what I wanted to talk about today is something that we've hit upon a number of weeks, and that's grabbing the audience. So you can have a setup similar to what Marty has with all the bells and whistles, and even know how to operate it to its fullest effect. You can have a great substance in what you have to say. You can be very informative, you can be very knowledgeable, but if you don't grab the audience, then you're going to be talking to no one. And this is something that I even am trying to formulate myself. And I'm going to take us way back to an example that really struck home with me this week, something that happened a long time ago that I thought would be applicable based on the amount of competition that we all face in trying to grab an audience. We know what the internet is like, and it's a double-edged sword. It all provides us the opportunity to get on here and express our thoughts and our opinion and to build a brand. On the other hand, we've got a zillion other people trying to do the same thing in direct competition with us. I'm going to take you back to my broadcasting days as a sportscaster, and something that's resonating with me right now in trying to distinguish my brand, my content from other people's, and something I'm trying to figure out right now, actually. So this is several years ago when I was a sportscaster in Mississippi. So I would shoot a taped segment following the 10 o'clock newscast. I would tape a 2-minute sports segment for the next morning. And it was just kind of a throwaway. We just wanted to get it done, get it over with. I would just splice out 2 minutes of my of my stacked show and just take the best 2 minutes off the top and let's get it done. Let's get it out there. This is not really why we're here. We're here to be on at 6 and 10, not to do this stupid 2 minute deal in the morning for the morning show. Okay. So the opening tag for this segment was introducing myself. I'm Mark Rogers with your first look at sport, because that was the name of the segment. Okay. Just my own natural way of speaking started to emphasize the first part of that. So I'm Mark Rogers, first look at sport, and it just built from there. So I started to get a little feedback and a few chuckles from people in the studio and in the production room, and I started to think, okay, people like this, so I continued to iterate this and continue to emphasize it to a point where I was opening this 2-minute sports segment for the morning viewers by saying, I'm Mark Rogers with your first look at sports. And I had all sorts of different versions of this. It hit me different every day. And this got to be just an unbelievable big deal with viewers, because that's how they react. They react emotionally. So I was a guy at the time who, not trying to pull myself up, but just give you a basis of where I was at this point in my career. I had won the Associated Press Sportscaster of the Year in Mississippi 3 times. I and thought I was pretty knowledgeable and doing a good job and had pretty good substance to provide. But that all went out the window. As soon as I started doing that, I would show up in restaurants, I would show up at the grocery store, I would show up at high school football games, college football games, and have just people just yelling out from the crowd, your first look at sports, and it was just crazy. So I bring that up to say, you need some sizzle. You need a little sizzle with your substance. It's all about the substance, and Marty and I get on here every week and preach substance. You need to be knowledgeable about your chosen topic. You need to be entertaining. You need to be really good at what you do, but you need to grab an audience. So a little sizzle with your substance is going to go a long way. So we all have unique personalities. We all have unique qualities. I'm a firm believer in everybody is truly different. Now you need to figure out how that plays into how you can provide your content. What is different about you? What is different about the way you talk? What's different about any portion of your personality that you can transition into a brand, that you can transition into content? Think about it, give some thought to it. There's something there that you can capitalize on to self different in the marketplace and distinguish your content and your brand. And that's something that I'm still trying to figure out right now with what I'm doing. And it comes out from time to time, but I need to harness it even in what I'm doing right now to distinguish myself. And then once people are hooked, they'll find out that you're a quality person, that you're provide quality content, but that hook, that first 5 seconds is enormous. So just thought I'd share that little detail from my past. It hit me this week in conversations with people on Facebook and social media that brought that back to my attention. And just the response to that was overwhelming compared to everything else I was doing. I was getting letters by the day on this. It was quite the phenomenon in and of itself compared to, again, all the work I was putting in, just this little spurt of energy in the morning. And it annoyed a lot of people. So you want to move the needle emotionally one way or the other, hopefully on the positive side. But if it's on the negative side, I think we would all agree you would rather have some people a little annoyed, a little irritated, a little aggravated at you because they probably will come back and come back and come back than just be completely apathetic. So that's what I'd like to share today. Create a little sizzle, review who you are, your personality, what you bring to the table, and try to find a little sizzle, just a little bit, that you can add to your content to grab an audience.
That's great advice, Mark. As always, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna take some of these questions here first. And I'm not sure if there's still an echo. I'm still working on. So apparently, there's no echo with the 2-box. So this is building in progress. No echo on the 2-box. Whatever you did toward the end appeared to fix it. Okay, maybe I turned down my mic. That's what I did. So that's good to know. Okay, good. Okay, so that's what I'll do. If Mark's is talking, I'll just bring down my microphone. So let's take some of these questions here, Mark. A lot of these are directed toward you. I'm going to put one of the questions in the box here, and we're not seeing this on the HD feed, but we'll read the question. How important is a broadcasting education? Would you say, Mark?
It's still important. It's minuscule compared to what it was when I came through. Because just think about it. Think about the opportunity that you have to set up your own production and create content every day and get it out there versus what we dealt with 20, 25 years ago, where if you didn't have a viable way to have somebody else support the camera work, the editing, the production part of it, to support your talent and your on-air skills. So back in the day, I went to college. I majored in broadcast journalism at Kent State University, and that was the path. And I needed that support system to actually get something on tape that I could present to a television station to get hired. Today, that's not the case. You jump on the internet and you've got a voice, and you have the opportunity to produce and even take it to Marty's level. In terms of all the bells and whistles and the neat things that you can do to supplement your on-air ability. So, yeah, it's important to have a broadcasting education to this day. Most of the people that we see on traditional broadcast, yes, have that education. But there are tons of people who are highly successful out there that just started from the ground up and just did it with a lot of the techniques and the resources that we talk about.
Great, excellent. And I'm just going to go to another question for you, Mark, before I take this third question. The question is also from Dane. Mark, is broadcasting still a good career to pursue, or has the internet changed that?
Near the end of the time that I was in traditional broadcasting, I saw this wave of the internet starting, and it hasn't changed broadcasting to the degree that it has newspapers. We know how antiquated the newspaper is at this point, but it has changed broadcasting. Obviously, there are just so many outlets. We see major networks losing 7 to 8 million subscribers over cable in a short period of time. So it's still a great field, great career to pursue. The internet has severely changed that, and obviously, again, has changed the opportunity to pursue a career in broadcasting. It's a cutthroat business to a certain extent. I felt it at a certain point in my career. It hit me directly. And before that, I saw masses of people let go because ownership would take control of a certain station. There would be an ownership change, and they would clean house, regardless of how capable, how good anybody was. They wanted their people in place. They would clear out 40, 50, 75 people at once and say, see ya. So that's not unlike a lot of other businesses out there, but those are my thoughts on traditional broadcasting.
Excellent. Yeah, so obviously I still have some work to do on this audio setup. So just to let everyone know, the late arrivals, the reason why you're hearing a little echo is the way I have my system set up. So in order to get Mark in, I'm not only doing this on Blab, but we're also producing this as an HD stream as well, and we're recording it for later posting. And that's really the focus of this show, and we kind of syndicate the Blab. So I still have some work to do as far as trying to get rid of that echo from the other Blab, and it's complicated. So, but it's good to know. It's good feedback because Mark is not using headphones, earbuds, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure. It may have something to do with it, Mark. You know, we can try that. It might be coming from. That's not the issue. So, anyways, it it's a complicated setup that I have, so it's probably something on my end as far as the routing. Anyways, I want to address this next question here. How do you get that banner and background? This comes up all the time. And also, just guys, if you want to mute, it's weird. If I'm on the single shot of Mark, then you want to mute my box. If not, then you can listen. He's feeding Blab. Yes, Steven's right. I'm feeding Blab and the program out into Blab, which is the issue. Nothing he can do right now. Yes, exactly. Thanks, Steven. But I'm using it's Echo on YouTube as well. I don't know. Anyways, I'm using a green screen to do this. So let me go to my shot. So I am using a green screen. I should do a whole show on green screen and procedure, and that's going to come up because that's going to require me to shoot this and kind of do it in a way that I can explain this. But I'm using the TriCaster, and I'm going to take this off here to show you guys. So I'm going to take off my green screen, and it should just go green. So you see the green there? That's in back of me, and I actually got it cropped in a little bit. So the reason why we use green, or normally it's a color that's not going to be in your video. So the whole thing about this is called live mat or Chroma Key, and the whole principle behind it is that the switcher will actually make whatever color you assign transparent. So in this case, it's green, right? And normally you want to light the background pretty evenly. You want that even color. So I'm going to actually tell the TriCaster, okay, everything that's green, make transparent. And then there you go. And I'll show you the shot. I'll show you my raw shot here. This is the raw shot. Okay. So that green is now black. That black is actually transparent. So the shot I'm using, if I can bring it up here, I'm not sure if I have it available. So anyways, so the composite shot looks like that. The image behind me is just a JPEG that I load up into the switcher, and I put that in the behind me. The other tip that you want to do is if you're going to do a green screen, and you can do it with various software, and this is again probably a subject for another show, but if you're going to use an image in back of you in a green screen, I would highly recommend that you use something that's not completely in focus. And you'll notice here the televisions in back of me are a little bit kind of fuzzed out a little bit, and that's to give the illusion of depth. It's not in back of me. It's literally the green screen. I can touch it in back of me, so it's very, very close. But if I had that in focus, it would be kind of distracting. So it gives it an illusion of depth, and that's a little tip, that kind of depth of field approach that you could use. So I'm just looking down at the. So obviously there's some issues with depth of field. Yes, DOF. John says, beat me to the punch. Exactly. That's an illusion that you want to do. So it looks like I'm in a large room, and again, you'll see this in television studios as well. If they have, sometimes they'll put up a graphic in the background, and if you were to go in and take a tour of that studio, it would not be in focus. It would be blurred. And that's really because of the way the cameras work, and to give illusion of depth as well. So anyways, do we have any other questions? I want to invite people in here. So I had this set up, and hopefully there's no echo, but I'm going to give it a shot anyways. If anybody wants to come in and ask a question, we invite you to come into the open seat. I do have a shot set up where I can put you on the show. Maybe John Upton wants to come in. John, are you obviously having issues with the audio? So if you want to come in, or anybody has a question, and again, the audio setup here, I went through this in the beginning of the show. I actually have two instances of Blab open. I have one instance of Blab open on another computer, and I actually mute my square. And this is how I'm getting Mark into that 2-box there. So the square I have is the actual feed, the HD feed going out to the CDNs. And Barb brought up this other thing. What is a CDN? And a CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. And it's basically a way to get your video out, encoded video out, distributed out on the internet. So for example, YouTube Live is a CDN. It's a content delivery network. So what I'm doing is I'm using a encoder. I showed this before, just for the benefit of the folks that are coming in here new, and see if I can focused it first before. So this is the encoder I'm using. I'm using a Teradek video encoder, and you'll see that it says live. I'm not sure if you can pick that up on Blab, but that's the encoder I'm using. So basically, I'm taking the HDMI video out of the TriCaster into this encoder, and then it goes out to a service called Restream that syndicates it to 5 different CDNs. So you can watch it on, and I should go through this at some point, what CDNs I'm using. Kind of taking a page out of Stephen Haywood's book. So I'm streaming to YouTube Live, which you can see on btslive.com. I have that embedded. I'm streaming to a service called streamup.com. Also stream.me, Daily Motion. What else? I think there was one other one that I can't remember. Also Ustream as well. I'm streaming to. Why hardware encoder over software? Good question. I'm gonna put that in the square. That's a really good question. Now, the TriCaster does have built-in encoding, and so I could stream directly with a button push right from the TriCaster. But since I already had the video from a previous setup, the reason why you'd want to do that is you want to take the resources off your main computer. That's where people go wrong. A lot of this stuff is that they try to do too much on one computer. So I'm using 3 or 4 different computers to do all this stuff, right? So if you try to do too much, video takes a lot of resources to do well. So I'm also running Wirecast, and I'm not even going to get into that to get into Blab. But the reason why you do is encoding is resource intensive, right? So if you're encoding on the same computer that you're switching, especially if you're using a software switcher, you could have some frame rate issues and some buffering issues. That's going to make your video not look so good. So if you separate some of those operations out, if you can, and use kind of separate computers, then you're kind of splitting the load a little bit, and everything kind of works. Even though the TriCaster, frankly, I could easily stream from the TriCaster and it would be fine, because it's a very specialized Windows computer basically with capture cards and software. That's how it works. But I choose to use the separate encoder because, again, it takes some resources off that. So anyways, hope that answers the question a little bit. Using Blab for chat and BTS Live for video. Yes, Knight Rider brings up an interesting point. And for folks that are new to the show, Mark and I could easily do the show in Blab, use the 4 windows, and make it very easy on ourselves. But of course, I don't want to make it very easy on myself. I want to take the hard road. So basically, my goal with this is to do an actual show in HD, 16:9, and stream it out, and then also post the recorded show afterwards, right, and make it all nice and clean and all that. And when you see, I'll have to post the recorded version in the Facebook group so you guys can see the finished product. Because what I'll do at the end of the show is I'll take the record from my TriCaster, I'll put a front end and the back end on it, the title and a little bit of music, and I'll post that out, and then that'll live as the re-airs. So the reason why I'm on Blab, because the Blab community is so great. And I go through all this trouble to syndicate the Blab, and Blab, I'm kind of hacking it. So that's why you're hearing the echo, and I'm kind of building this as I go here. So thanks, Knight Rider. Yeah, that's the reason why I do it. Knight Rider's comment, it looks good on Blab. Yes, John, do you want to come in? I would love to have you come in, because it sounds like you kind of know some stuff here. And I definitely want to invite you in. We can talk a little bit more. But I am using multiple computers to get all this stuff done. And in the beginning of the show, I kind of showed the workflow a little bit, how I do this with Blab. And again, the reason I think you get in the echo is I'm using 2 instances of Blab, so I'm trying to figure out the audio routing, and I don't have it completely right. But I can tell you on the record, it'll be perfect. So, anyways. So any other questions or comments? You're more than welcome to come in. Everyone's shy. Nobody wants to come in. Of course, nobody wants to come in. I actually have it set up this week, Mark, to be able to bring people in on the main show. If I go to I'll show you the shot. If I go to this shot, there's an open seat there. If anybody wants to come in. Anyone else hearing echo on YouTube? Around the only one not hearing echo. Well, luckily, Stephen, that's interesting you say it. Oh, here we go. Dane, welcome. Hopefully we'll get him in there. Sweet. Hey, Dane, how are you?
I thought I would just simply come in just so I can see the 3-person shot you're talking about.
Absolutely. Now I got you on the HD feed, and I set it up where I only have 4 MEs, so I can't set you up as a set. That's why you had the black spot there next to you. So just to get you in here, but I welcome. Do you have a question or a comment or? Thanks for the great questions, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to absorb things. So I'm simply just asking questions, trying to learn, and see where to go from there.
No, I appreciate that. I know it's a lot to take in, and this is something I struggle with because my setup is kind of advanced, and again, I'm kind of building this as I go with Mark. And it gets a little technical, so I'm trying to figure out how to do this and build it and get rid of the echo, as John's pointing out. So yeah, it's kind of a work in progress. So yeah, but we can.
Asking was, obviously I'm sitting here in a leather chair next to the couch or next to the wall, excuse me, and doesn't look anything as cool as what you've got. So, that also in a presentation, I think, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I want to point out that's a great point, John. I want to point out what's great about Blab is that it's an opportunity to get you started. And if you're interested in creating video content or any kind of content, it's the kind of the platform's right here for you. So if you want to do an interview show, you got the 4 squares. You can put the questions up, and you're ready to go. And kind of what I'm doing here, and this is why I think some folks are hearing the echo on the Blab feed, is that I'm actually producing this more for the HD audience and for the re-airs instead of Blab, and I'm using Blab as a syndication, and mainly because the community here is so great. I mean, you can see there's 21 people in here, and I see a lot of familiar faces, the comments, and there's a whole show going on in the comments, and that's what's great. And it's worth the effort to do this. And obviously I still have some issues to go with the audio on the Blab side of things, so I don't get the echo with Mark. But again, it's kind of a work in progress, and kind of going along here, kind of building as we go here. And I'm sorry if I'm missing some of these questions, but I know someone asked, I think Jason Bates asked, what's the TriCaster? And I'll just show you real quick. It's my switcher. So if I go to the close-up camera, that's the TriCaster there. It's a fairly small box. You can see a couple of HDMI cables going into it. This is the TriCaster Mini that I'm using. It's the least expensive TriCaster. There are ones that are much more expensive and bigger and have more inputs and things you can do. Tommy, you're funny. Here's the screen I'm looking at, just to give you an idea of what I got in front of me here. And I'll just back it out. That's my interface, and there's a lot going on there. You can see the audio mixer on the bottom. See all the video sources I have. So it's pretty complex, obviously, to do all this stuff. So, but it's fun. And again, I think this is something that we have to break down to multiple shows and kind of get an idea of what you guys want to hear about. I would invite you guys to certainly join the Facebook group if you're not already in there, and show topics, whatever you guys want to hear about, we can break that down and we can get into it. I certainly want to cover things that you guys are interested in. So anyways, absolutely, Dane.
So you've mentioned syndication a couple of times. I've been on Blab a couple of months. I haven't been horribly active, but I pop in every once in a while. Is there a way to really syndicate Blab, or are you taking the content from here and pushing it out through another media source that you have in order to get it syndicated or to put it across other places?
Yeah, that actually is a very good question. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm producing the show using my TriCaster as the main switcher. So I'm compositing everything, and I'm using actually this instance of Blab to bring Mark into the show. So if I switch to Mark's camera, you see I have that pre-composited there. So in my what you're seeing in my spot is the actual composited show and what's going out to the HD feeds. So this show, the way I do it is this show is a HD show. It's not a Blab show. I'm using Blab just to basically as another CDN, as another content delivery network. And no, that's not how most people use it, but that's how I'm doing it. So if I go to this shot here, this is all pre-composited. So I have Mark already set up in this shot, but I'm taking the video of him from this Blab. So you'll see his shot is double here, and he appears twice. So he's moving. So I'm actually zoomed in on his square in this shot, and I pre-composite this. And the same thing with your shot. I pre-composite this in advance, so the bottom two squares show up in this shot, and I'm able to bring you on air as well. Anybody else that wants to come in and ask questions. But the main objective here is to do a show, a real show, 16:9 like you'd see on TV. I have much bigger plans with this. I mean, again, I point to Steven as my inspiration, and I point out the techbuzz.net. In fact, let me show you that, because that's really my inspiration here. So that's Steven's site, the Tech Buzz. He's been doing this for a long time. He does it the way I want to do it, where he produces his show HD 16:9. He embeds it on his site. He has a chat room there, and then he's been doing this for a long time before Blab ever got started. And then we discovered Blab, and the community here is strong. That's why we go to the trouble of actually syndicated the Blab, because again, the community here is great. We've met a lot of great people here, and that's really why we do this. But again, there's some hoops you got to jump through to actually make this stuff work. In previous shows, I was using Google Hangouts to bring Mark in, and we weren't getting echo, but Google Hangouts is kind of, for some reason, it wasn't working for Mark. So that's the problem that we had. But anyways, yeah, this is the part I struggle with, because it gets complicated. So how do I make this as easy as possible, but still do the high quality show I want to do, with Mark, and get this across? So that's kind of the struggle. So that's why I rely on the questions. So yeah, your questions were great and spot on. That's the kind of questions I really want to cover here. So.
Well, gentlemen, I just thank you for letting me jump in. I'll back out just in case you guys want to wrap up or somebody will.
You got it. Hey, Dane, thanks for popping in.
Thanks, Dane.
All right.
So there you go. So that worked. So obviously, Mark, we learned something today. I still got some audio issues to work out. But that's a challenge, though. And that, in fact, it's funny, because the way I look at this stuff is it is a challenge, right? So if you really want to do something at a high level, this is what I mean about, this is why I say learn the whys, because that's the show. What I can do is now I can go back and listen to the Blab recording. Luckily, I didn't hit record, so whoever hit record, thank you, because I didn't hit record. It's probably Barb. Thank God, Barb. Thank God for Barb Tomlin. Barb did. Of course she did.
I can't see that from here. I can't see the record, so I need to put that on my to-do list, or I guess that would be the one item on my to-do list for this show. And I need to remind you that every week. This is like 3 or 4 consecutive weeks.
Exactly. I mean, thank God for Barb, because I'm and this is another thing. I mean, and this is why I always bring up Stephen Haywood, Tech Buzz, right? Because when you're trying to do this, I'm switching the show. I'm also host, right? So there's a million things you're trying to do all at once, and you're trying to get this set up. I know you do, Barb. Thank you. But this is the point. If you can do this well, you try to make it look easy. You try to make it like, oh, this is a piece of cake. And believe me, it really isn't. I mean, I got like 18 different things going on here. And I think Steven could definitely relate. When he does his shows, he makes it look extremely easy. And again, it's workflows, it's knowing the whys, and this is what I mean. So at the end of the show, what I'm able to do is I'm able to go back, listen to the Blab recording, see where the echo's coming in, and then knowing the whys, knowing how my setup is, review my signal flow, and see, okay, where's that echo coming in, and be able to troubleshoot it. I think something that's really missing today is, I think a lot of people have lost the skill of troubleshooting. And so that's why you need to know the whys, why something's happening, to really diagnose the issue and to come up with a fix. So anyways, so Mark, I think we're going to wrap this puppy up, at least the formal show. And yeah, we're about 3 o'clock, but I'll stay on for a little while longer post show, just for the Blab portion. This is another incentive for those watching the rear or the HD feed. I'll be re-airing these feeds on the CDNs as we go through the week. But if you want to see the behind the scenes before the show and post show, I invite you to check out blab.im, and then search for our show, behind the scenes live, and you'll be able to see when we end the formal show, some of the banter afterwards as well. So Mark, thanks for another week, episode 13.
Of course.
And this is Marty McPadden for BTS Live. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back again next Monday with another edition of Behind the Scenes Live, BTS Live. So long, guys.